Hello 8th graders. In this IXL video we're going to be taking a look at assignment R4, which is also about the Pythagorean theorem, and specifically you can see in the assignment title this is all about finding the perimeter of a triangle by using Pythagorean theorem. So we see our right triangle here, 10 millimeters, 6 millimeters, and A, and the question asks us, what is the perimeter? We see that question right there, what is the perimeter? So before I do any of this problem, we need to say what's perimeter mean in math. And if I didn't know that, I would simply run a Google search. I would ask Google to define perimeter in math. I like my search to be very specific about math stuff when I look that up. So in this case I said, hey, define perimeter but specifically in math. And this is what Google told me right away. It says perimeter is the distance around a two-dimensional shape. Add the side links to find the perimeter of regular polygons. Polygons means any kind of shape. You could Google that if you want. So to find the perimeter of triangles, squares, rectangles, pentagons, any shape you want, you just add up all the side lengths. That's all there is to do for perimeter. So once I understand that, I look here and I say, if they give me a triangle and they say, what is the perimeter? I need to know the three sides first. And all of R4 is, every single time, they give you a missing side of the right triangle. You use Pythagorean theorem to find that missing side, and then you got to remember to add up the three sides. So it's just like R3, you'll find a missing side, but then you got to remember to add all three sides at the end. With that in mind here, I see that for this triangle, I don't know one side. It's called A. I do already know the big side, the 10 millimeters, which I'm going to label as C. And whenever I know my big side and I want to find one of the small legs, I like to go to the formula. C squared minus B squared must equal A squared. If you take the big side, square it, subtract one of the legs and squared from when that was squared, it has to be equal to the other leg squared. This means the same thing as A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I'm going to plug in my 10 for C here, and we'll do this in red for the first one here. 10 for C. And then B is going to take the 6. So I get 10 squared minus 6 squared is equal to A squared. And then at that point 10 squared would be 100, 6 squared would be 36. So in blue here we see this should be getting familiar to you by R4. We just square the sides first. In this case, since we already knew the big side, we're subtracting those squares. 100 minus 36 is my next step, and that gives me 64. And some number squared is 64. I want to know what that number is. If I don't already know, 8 times 8 is what makes 64. I could take the square root from both sides of this equation, and that square root of 64 would tell me A needs to be equal to 8. But this is where you want to be careful on R4. Our answer is not A. They don't want to know how big A is. Our answer is the perimeter. So I'm going to write that A up there and realize, maybe we'll do this in pink, I guess. That'll be fun. I need to do 10 plus 8 plus 6 to finish this problem. The perimeter is to add all three sides up. And you all could do 10 plus 8 plus 6. I know 8 and 6 is 14. 14 and 10 makes 24. So that's how my brain was doing that mental math. But you could do it any way you want to realize the perimeter here must be 24 millimeters. And I'm not going to do lots of examples on this video because you should watch the R2 or R3 videos if you're struggling to find a missing side. All that R4 adds is once you find your missing side, you need to add all three sides up to find perimeter. It's just an application or word problem version of this stuff. So instead of showing another easier one, I'm going to skip ahead, encourage you to do some of these on your own, and I will show one more example for the group, but it's going to be one of the more annoying, difficult ones from the challenge zone. So again, encouraging you to do most of this assignment on your own, just using Pythagorean theorem and remembering to add, once you know the missing side, add all three sides up to find perimeter. If you're still watching this video with me trying to get more help on the more difficult ones, I'd encourage you to try to do this problem first, and then watch me do it out. So thank you for pausing the video, doing that problem on your own, or trying to, and now we're going to take a look at how to do it together. Here I see right away I'm missing C, I'm missing the big side. And anytime I'm missing the hypotenuse, the biggest side, I like to go to my A squared plus B squared equals C squared formula. I'm just going to take the two short legs, square them, add them together, and that will be the same as the hypotenuse squared. In this case, that means I'm plugging in a 4.8. I'm getting that squared. I'm plugging in a 6.8 and getting that squared. And then I'm going to show you a little trick here at the end of the video if you happen to still be watching. I know I'm going to square these numbers, then add them together, and then take the square root. So I'm going to type all of that in here together to my calculator actually. It's going to need to take the square root, and I'm going to need parentheses here. It's going to take the square root of whatever 4.8 squared is, plus whatever 6.8 squared is. So what I'm training or telling my calculator to do right now is square those two legs, then add them together, and then the parentheses take the square root of all of that. And that gets me to 8.323. And again, you could do this out longer. You could square those two numbers, add them together, and then take your square root. That's all I told the calculator to do, and it got 8.323. Now at that point, I'm going to go ahead and I need to go to the nearest tenth. So if I need to go to the nearest tenth, sorry, putting a pink box around to make that easier to think about, I'm going to say the 3 is in the 10th spot. It's one place after the decimal. I look right after the 3 to see a 2 is the digit that showed up after. That means I don't round up. I keep it at 8.3. In short, the reason we stay at 8.3 instead of going to 8.4 is 32 is closer to 30 than it is to 40. So if we have to stop at one decimal point, 30 is a better estimate of 32 than 40 would have been. And now, and this is great, I'm glad I made a mistake in front of all of you who are still watching here. My mistake, as you see, I'm going through here, I'm looking. They have the 8.3 that I have. And some of you might have been laughing when I clicked that in and say, what mistake did Mr. Doherty make there? My mistake, of course, was I did not add that with the other two sides because they asked for perimeter. So be better than me. Don't make mistakes like that. Read the question carefully before you hit submit and realize, oh, they're asking for perimeter. I need to take that 8.3 for the missing side, and as they're showing me here, I need to add that 8.3 with the other two. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. As you see, read questions carefully or you'll make mistakes like I did there.